It is in the nature of old men to give advice. At its best, it comes in the form of stories. Stories of lessons hard won from failures along the way. But sometimes it comes in the form of mansplaining. You know, nuggets of information condescendingly imparted. But in the case of Moses, it was in the form of lengthy sermons given when the children of Israel were literally on the verge of Jordan, preparing to cross over into the Promised Land. He was indeed an old man by then, and would be dead before the people crossed over. He knew his death was imminent, so his words took on a certain tone of urgency. Hello, I'm Stuart Baskin, pastor of First Presbyterian Church of Tyler, Texas. If one could sum up the book of Deuteronomy, which contains the sermons of Moses prior to the people's entry into the Promised Land, it would be this: do not forget who brought you here. Over and over again throughout Deuteronomy, he uses the word remember. Remember who brought you out of the land of Egypt. Remember who brought you through the wilderness. Remember who gave you manna and quail when you were hungry. Remember who gave you water to drink in the middle of the burning desert. Remember. Here's what Moses says in just one portion of Deuteronomy. Take care that you do not forget the Lord your God by failing to keep his commandments, his ordinances, and his statutes, which I'm commanding you today. When you have eaten your fill and built fine houses and live in them, and when your herds and flocks have multiplied, and your silver and gold is multiplied, and all that you have is multiplied, then do not exalt yourself, forgetting the Lord your God, who brought you out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of slavery, who led you through the great and terrible wilderness, an arid wasteland with poisonous snakes and scorpions. He made water flow for you from flint rock, and fed you in the wilderness with manna that your ancestors did not know, to humble you and to test you, and in the end, to do you good. Do not say to yourself, my power and the might of my own hand have gotten me this wealth. But remember the Lord your God, for it is he who gives you power to give wealth, so that he may confirm his covenant that he swore to your ancestors, as he is doing today. If you do forget the Lord your God and follow other gods to serve and worship them, I solemnly warn you today that you shall surely perish. Remember. That's the message. Now, remembering on its own is easy. We just need some sort of visual reminder, right? Maybe it's a cross we wear on a chain around our neck. Or maybe it's a collection of crosses decorating a wall in our homes. Maybe it's a holding cross we keep in our pockets. Maybe it's the Bible we keep on our nightstand. These are constant reminders of God's presence. Remembering is easy. And if that's all Moses meant, we could all just say, praise God, and pass the potatoes. But Moses meant more than simply calling God to mind from time to time. He meant more than recalling the stories about things God had done. For Moses, remembering meant following God's commands. And it meant giving God all the credit for where we are today. Do not say to yourself, he says, my power and my might and the might of my own hand have gotten me this wealth. All that we have and all we've become, says Moses, ultimately derive from God's bountiful gifts. Yes, we may have put in some sweat equity, but we didn't start with nothing. At a bare minimum, we started with a place and with skills and talents made possible by God. You see, Moses knew that when times are good, we human beings have a tendency to do two things. First, we tend to forget all the people who helped us get where we are, and we tend to congratulate ourselves for what we've done. We're like the man who was born on third base and thought he'd hit a triple. And then second, we begin to think that we are self-sufficient in life, which is even more dangerous. If the winter storms of this past week have taught us anything, it is just how incredibly dependent we are upon things quite out of our control, whether it's the electric grid or the city water supply. It all reminds me of the old Texas saying, "You've got to dance with who brung you." And now may God continue to bless you and keep you in all that you do this day and in all the days ahead.